This is the walkthrough of a transfer of care app, and this is more of a user interface related to the actual app that I built for my thesis, which was looking at the agent-based transfer of care and rolling AI into the process. And this is just a user interface to demonstrate some of the flow concepts that could go along with that AI interface. It's just standard login that's simulated fairly simply. So this would be the landing page, really, where you have all your job history and whether they've been handed off, so you can quickly see all your jobs, slides both ways, and you can filter these out, but the high priority cases and still open cases. And if I do that, then you can see that it's actually, there's two open cases, one's a low priority, one's a recent high priority. And you can also check your availability. This is would be a concept if there was somebody wanted to hand over a patient to you as an EMS professional. I can turn these off. So that's the basic interface. There's a standard settings menu there that you can open up. And the key functionality is here. So you'd add a case whenever you're out with a new set of patients, a new injured user. So add it. And this was the transfer of care interface where you're recording everything that happens with that patient throughout the interaction with them. So the first thing you would do is just enter age groups. These were just pretty coarse age groups aimed at being adults, and where there's differences in the human, it could be adapted. This is just based on the initial concept that we developed in my thesis. And so here's just a standard keyboard entry. This is a bit of a trick with Figma because it was difficult to do this, so this is pre-coded in. You have to click the right sequence, otherwise it doesn't really work, but it's just to demonstrate the potential, so that there is keyboard entry, but the key use case for this would be through voice activation, whether that's like a hey care pass, like a hey Google type prompt to cue the user into using it, or some other system where there's a click button that then accepts the voice input. Obviously Figma doesn't have voice input, so I simulated that with just a little button down the bottom, and here it's following through that and automatically time stamping the inputs as well. And as you can see here, you could add more and more details as the interaction goes on with the patient. Obviously this is just simulated. If for some reason you're in a noisy environment, you'd want the ability to add that in by text again. I just simulated that rather than actually having the text input. So you'd submit again. And then you have the interface. This was based on the transfer of care documents that are used in the military. They can write on the location of an injury and the detail of the injury. So you can click on any of these parts and unclick them if you wanted to. And so this just gives a very brief top-level summary of the injury to the patient. The idea would then be to transfer. It would search for, as you get to the primary care facility, it would search for available triage professionals who could take over this patient. This is primarily an application for an EMS user. And so you choose one of these patients here. It gives you a brief summary of that user, any speciality and experience they might have. So if you have a particular patient, you might be able to say it's pediatrics, you might want somebody with a pediatric background, and so you then hit submit. This then requests the transfer to that person, who will then receive a request on their device as well. Obviously this was predicated on there being devices across users, and so this user, the triage nurse, would get this alert on their screen, and it gives them three options. So they can just accept like that. If they reject and pass, then it comes up with new users. I've broken this a little bit, and so you could reject and pass it to this user, another user who might be more specialized in that particular area, or because you're ending your shift. If it's rejected, the user who requested the transfer will get a new alert that says transfer was rejected. As you can see, the new case has been input here, and there's now a tick next to that indicating that the transfer was successful. And that was just a brief overview of an interface design that brought more of a user experience element and the user flow to the C# prototype that I built, which was exploring more of the agent-based AI that underpins some prediction of patient status and how you can present that to the user. Thank you for listening. That was my overview.